I used to think healing meant proving how badly I'd been hurt, explaining my pain better, hoping that if people finally understood what they had done to me, they would treat me differently. But now, to me, healing means learning how to stop abandoning myself. It means taking responsibility for how I respond to my pain instead of staying trapped inside it. Because there's a big difference between recognizing painful family patterns and building your entire identity around being the one who was hurt. For years, I've lived as a scapegoat in my family system. I took on responsibilities that weren't mine, over-explained myself, tried to fix everything, and constantly put aside my own needs to keep the peace. And what I'm realizing now is this. Healing isn't pretending your pain didn't happen. Healing is learning how to face your pain without letting it control your entire life. And that's a big mindset shift. Welcome to Lessons for Life with Grandma Kate. If you're done with people-pleasing, tired of repeating the same patterns, and ready to learn what healthy relationships actually look like, you're in the right place. I get it. I was there too. At 65, I started learning the things I wish I'd known decades ago, like how to see the patterns, why we keep repeating them, and how to finally treat ourselves with the respect we always deserved. And somewhere along the way, I realized something that changed everything. When we don't understand our patterns, we pass them on, not because we're bad parents, but because no one ever showed us anything different. That realization drives everything I do. Like a lighthouse, steady and strong, let's all shine a little brighter today. One of the biggest challenges for scapegoats is that we often swing between two unhealthy extremes, over-responsibility and emotional victimhood. On one side, we take responsibility for everything. We become hyper-responsible. We overanalyze every conversation. We feel guilty for having needs. We think if we could just explain ourselves better, behave better, love harder, stay quieter, or fix ourselves enough, then maybe, just maybe, our relationships will finally feel safe. But on the other side, sometimes we swing completely into victimhood. We stay emotionally trapped in what happened to us. We replay the pain over and over. We build our identity around being misunderstood, rejected, abandoned, or hurt. And the truth is, neither extreme leads to healing. Healing lives in the middle. Because yes, painful things happen. Yes, some people treat you unfairly. Yes, scapegoating leaves deep emotional wounds. But eventually, there comes a time when our awareness must turn into responsibility for how we respond to that pain. Not blame, responsibility. And those are not the same thing. Fault is about the past. Responsibility is about the present. You may not be responsible for what happened to you, but you are responsible for how you respond to what happens to you. You are responsible for your healing, your boundaries, your values, your choices moving forward. That's when your power starts returning. Over the past while, I've shared stories on this podcast about experiences and relationship dynamics that deeply hurt me, which helped me recognize and understand patterns I had spent years minimizing or rationalizing. But what I'm realizing now is that awareness is only one part of my healing. At some point, healing also becomes about how I choose to respond to those experiences moving forward. But I don't think I truly understood any of that until I recently traveled solo to Europe for 10 days at 69 years old. One of the reasons I wanted to travel solo was for autonomy. I wanted to prove to myself, can I do this at my age? For the first time in a very long time, I had time to think on my trip. Really think. Without the influence, expectations, or noise of anyone around me. I was in foreign countries where I didn't understand the language, so I spent much of my time walking, reflecting, journaling, and being fully responsible for myself. But on day 4, something happened that cracked my heart open a little. When you spend years being the capable one because the support just isn't there, a random act of kindness can hit you in places you didn't even realize were hurting. I was trying to buy a subway ticket in Barcelona, Spain, and I messed up. I had the receipt, but not the actual ticket, and I couldn't figure out what I had done wrong. A wonderful family noticed I was struggling and stepped in to help me. I will never forget what the woman said to me. "We'll stay with you until you get your ticket and you're good." It was all I could do not to cry right there. I'm tearing up a little bit now because I have never experienced kindness like that before. I've always been the one who had to find the solution, figure things out, stay strong, and carry the responsibility during stressful times. But in that moment, I allowed myself to be helped. I was vulnerable, but not weak. And in that moment, something shifted in me. Even though I've spent much of my life in the scapegoat role and all the emotional pain that comes with it, my trip helped me realize I didn't have to stay emotionally trapped in that role forever. Because in that moment, I wasn't being blamed, dismissed, or expected to figure everything out alone. I was simply being helped. Healing isn't just about recognizing the patterns that hurt you. It's also about learning how to stop losing yourself inside those patterns. Here are 5 life lessons that have helped me, and I hope they help you as well. Life lesson number 1. Awareness is the beginning, not the end. Recognizing toxic family patterns is important. Seeing scapegoating clearly matters. A lot of us spent years minimizing what happened, rationalizing it, or blaming ourselves for it. So awareness is a huge step. But awareness will not change your life. Eventually, you have to ask yourself, now that I see the pattern, what am I going to do differently? Because healing isn't just identifying dysfunction. Healing is responding differently to it. And life lesson number 2, responsibility is not the same thing as blame. This one is the hardest lessons for scapegoats to understand. Taking responsibility for your life does not mean you deserved what happened to you. It does not mean abuse is okay. It does not mean neglect is okay. And it does not mean scapegoating is okay. Responsibility simply means you stop handing your future over to those experiences. You stop waiting for the people who hurt you to finally change. You stop putting your entire emotional life in someone else's hands. And that shift changes everything. Life lesson number 3. Self-abandonment keeps scapegoats stuck. Many scapegoats become experts at putting everyone else first, but we ignore our intuition. We tolerate behavior that hurts us. We chase people who pull away. We people please, over-explain, and carry emotional responsibility for everyone else. And somewhere in all that, we lose ourselves completely. Personal growth begins the moment you stop betraying yourself to keep someone else comfortable. It's about finally treating yourself like someone whose feelings matter too. And life lesson number 4. Internal values create emotional freedom. For a long time, many of us have lived from external values, such as approval, validation, being chosen, being understood, being liked, keeping the peace. But external validation will never create inner peace. However, internal values are different, such as integrity, honesty, self and mutual respect, peace, responsibility, emotional maturity. And the more your life becomes guided by internal values instead of external approval, the less emotionally controlled you become by other people's actions. That's when emotional freedom starts. And life lesson number 5, healing requires choosing differently. At some point, healing becomes a decision, a painful one sometimes, because when you start changing, the people around you often resist it. They're used to the over-functioning version of you, the people-pleasing version, the scapegoat version. So when you begin choosing differently, it can feel uncomfortable, lonely, even wrong at first. But those small, uncomfortable choices are how your whole life eventually changes. And this matters beyond our own healing, because how we heal shapes what we model for the children in our lives. The first thing we can do is make sure that when a child makes a mistake, we don't make them the problem. Kids should be allowed to feel emotions without being shamed for them. When one child constantly carries the blame and absorbs the family tension, that child often grows into an adult who abandons themselves just to keep relationships functioning. The second thing is modeling what it looks like to take responsibility for your own emotions instead of projecting them onto your kids. That means saying things like, "I was frustrated, but that wasn't your fault." Or, "I need to calm down before we continue this conversation." And, "I made a mistake too." Children learn emotional responsibility by watching us practice it ourselves. Personal growth and healing don't mean pretending your pain never happened. It means learning how to stop building your entire identity around that pain. You can still acknowledge what hurt you without collapsing into shame. You can recognize unhealthy patterns without staying emotionally trapped inside them forever. And maybe that's what real healing actually is. Not becoming someone who was never hurt, but becoming someone who finally stops abandoning themselves because of it. Whether you're starting to understand yourself more clearly or learning to do things differently, you're building the skills to grow into the person you're meant to be. Listening is important, but real change happens when you use what you've learned. So choose just one life lesson from today and try it out this week. That's when things begin to shift. And if you want more life lessons like this, be sure to follow Lessons for Life with Grandma Kate on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. If this episode resonated with you, there's a link in the show notes to show your appreciation. Either way, I am grateful for you being here. If no one has told you lately, everything will be okay. Tomorrow is a new day, and with it comes new hope. As I conclude this episode, I must state that this podcast is designed solely for educational and entertainment purposes. While I bring my experience as a parent and grandparent, it's essential that you know I am not a licensed therapist. This podcast is not a substitute for professional advice from a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professional. Got it? Awesome. Until next time, what is one thing you are grateful for?